Alright everyone, well welcome back, and you know the drill. This is now the high tier portion of our 11.0.1 Super Smash Bros. Ultimate tier list. And we are now at the tier where basically, it's high tier. These are the characters we often see making pretty big moves at events. They're typically amazing and well-rounded, but traditionally they usually have one like big weakness you can exploit. And that's like the one thing that can hold them back from being otherwise a perfect character. These characters can often win regionals, and seeing them upset a major isn't outside of a possibility. So without further ado, let's get started. Our first character on the high tier list, and there's a few of them, is Yoshi. Quite possibly the most annoying character in the game, in my opinion. I want to pull my hair out whenever I fight a Yoshi, but that's apart from the point. Aside from the point, this is a tier list, not an H-box grievance list. Yoshi does have potential to get gimped, which can hurt in the long run, but horizontal air mobility, really powerful kill confirms, a down B that can go through platforms, a really good egg throw, tricky to read recovery with the jumps. I mean, ladder combos, a downer that dishes out tons of percent, really good tilts into up air combos, a spike, and just the ability to sort of press any button, almost like mash in a sense, and still probably do pretty good. A backer that kills. I mean, I can go on and on saying why Yoshi is so good. Not to mention he has the best shield in the game with amazing out of shield options with Nair, which hits both, sort of in front and behind him. Just honestly, really well-rounded character. And I think if it's your first time playing Ultimate, just play Yoshi for a bit, and it'll probably feel pretty good in your hands. The character all of his moves lead into themselves, and you'll see what I mean. But yeah, hella annoying. I hate fighting Yoshi. Next up on the high tier, we have Link. That's right, Link he's been in the game since Smash 64, and in this game, God does he pack a punch. He has amazing utility and projectile games. He has huge kill power. I don't know if you've seen the knockback on his forward smash when it connects, but it's actually insane. Up B out of shield, still really good. His up air and down air can be used to, land kills or continue combos. His forward air, sort of, if you get hit by the first part, the second part's almost guaranteed out there. Not to mention the combos he can use with the bomb, sort of as a projectile before he blows it up, almost like as a little latent item. The top Link players can make miracles happen with just one bomb. Not to mention Nair, the cooldown of Nair is basically safe on shield no matter what you do. So if you catch yourself off guard and Link is already pressuring you with projectiles, you're going to be in a really bad spot. The only downside of Link, and every high tier has at least one downside, is that his mobility kind of hurts a bit. He's not exactly the fastest character. You see that when he's running on the ground. There's a lot of characters that are faster than him, but he makes up for it with massive strength, and out of the three Links, he's by far the strongest. So definitely a solid character, and at any point is up smash out of shield, or a down smash catch on a roll, or ledge pressure options, and leaving his bomb sort of as a remote bomb that can blow up and forcing your opponent off the ledge, or even using a boomerang and arrows all mixed up together in his rushdown game. I mean, he's a damn good character and damn scary in the right hand. So Link, definitely high tier. Our next character in the high tier list is Falco. Falco, he's had quite the climb through the tier list over the past year or so. He has some of the best combo games in the entire cast. I mean, he literally has a meme called cutscene combos because of how long they take. This character gets one up tilt on you, into another up tilt, into an up air, into a back air. Not to mention the fact they can continue with a forward air, which has so many active hitboxes, you really never know when it actually ends. And then once you get hit by that again, it's kind of just rinse and repeat. And even if you're at high percent, like 70, 80, up tilt back air, I mean, it's devastatingly strong, like how incredibly good his back air is. It's really wild when you consider it. It's like Falco and Wolf back airs for being the spaciers, and Fox too, all the spaciers, they have really solid back airs. And Falco, I mean, if you play good Falco, you'll know exactly what I mean. He has really good frame data. A lot of the top Falco players are learning how to utilize his laser more, especially even if it's in the air as a sort of follow-up option and a little like extra credit percent. He has really good frame data, and you'll see that with his jabs, you'll see it with his out of shield options. The only thing is you can get edge guarded and die a bit earlier than the other spacies. I mean, but this Falco side B is pretty quick, and of course in Ultimate you can do side B into up B, you know, and that's what gives Falco and Fox a really good edge in recovery in this case, sort of balances them out. He's a kind of a lightweight character, but that jump that he has as well, super high. I mean, Nintendo has an issue where it seems that they can't not make Falco a good character in a lot of their games. It's just like no matter what they do, he's just like always like some looming threat that might happen. I mean, I don't know how many good placings Falco had in Smash 4, but like since Melee obviously is crazy, and even now like he was considered now like to be a bad character at the start, but now he's a solid high tier character and he can combo the entire cast. I would not be surprised at all to see a Falco make top 8 at majors pretty soon. We have next on the list the fan favorite of basically the entire world, Captain Falcon, who was buffed in patch 11.0, and it was a big buff because his up B has reduced vulnerability after hitting an opponent, which is basically his biggest Achilles heel. His biggest weakness was his recovery and getting get off it, and now that's gone. If you get sort of up B with the command grab up B and you sort of release it, you can get back to stage really, really quickly. He is so close now to hitting that next threshold of characters, I feel. If we see results of him pop up offline, he could move even higher than high tier. Like, believe it or not, like they actually really did a good job in fixing this character. Let's not mention his speed on the ground, how strong his back air is. He has the knee, which is like, if you land it, it's a little hard to land. If you do, kill super early. Incredibly strong up smash, really fast up air, really good grab combos, really good down air spike. Aerial game almost nearly unmatched in terms of speed and priority. He still has a weaker recovery in terms of getting edge guarded, but this recent patch helps so much in keeping more consistent interactions happening, especially off stage. And I think that's one of the things the Falcon players were complaining about the absolute most. So huge fix for him. Mind you that Falcon and Ganondorf got the same exact buff in this latest patch, but just given the fact of how much better Falcon is than Ganondorf, it really shows you how much important this buff is to him. Whereas Ganondorf still remains in bottom tier contender for the worst character in the game. It really goes to show how the balance and the speed and where you prioritize a character's traits and how much you give them really does matter in the long run. And I think if Falcon can be this high, Nintendo can still buff Ganondorf one more time. That's what I feel. So expect some great placings from Falcon. Of course, Fatality is a great one to watch. Nixie along with some others. It's going to be a really, really good time, I think, when we get back to offline and we see what Falcon can really do. Also in high tier, to no one's surprise, is going to be Roy and Chrom. Roy and Chrom, they're both very, very similar with their slight differences, as you know, namely in their up B, whereas Roy's is a flame sword that goes upwards. Chrom's is almost a suicide up B that goes straight down and vertical with way less horizontal movement. They both have amazing speed and huge kill conversions, one of the biggest ones being the Jair, which is jab to back air. You've seen Roy and Chrom players like Goblin use this very, very often. And in the early era of the pandemic, we had Cola have amazing results with Roy. Of course, in these latest 10.0 and 11.0 patches, he hasn't been as active, but this character is still very, very good. You can expect to see a lot of them still being played both offline and online. Roy, if I had to pick, would probably edge out a tiny bit better than Chrom because he has a slightly better and more consistent recovery. But both the characters in general are just a slight more lackluster than the rest of the characters, in the higher tiers. So it keeps them in the high tier, but still, these characters have such a great matchup spread. Like, I really don't feel like if you main Roy or Chrom that you need a secondary. So if you main them, you made a good choice, trust me. Young Link, next character in high tier, received a slight buff in version 10.0. Made the up special easier to hit multiple times when using the move in the air. The exact same buff that Toon Link got, but of course we put Young Link higher on this tier list, namely because he's the epitome of projectile camping in the game. I mean, if you want a character that can throw as many things as possible, as quickly as possible, and still have all the time to run around and get under you, behind you, above you, underneath you, recover, disappear, it's Young Link, all right? He's incredibly fast. He can spam projectiles better than almost any character in this game. He can also convert those projectiles into kills. I don't know how many times you've seen an arrow confirm into an up B kill, and the up B connects now even better, which is a buff. It's like one of his main combos. Or a bomb into a down air, or just a boomerang, throwing it around with a few more arrows thrown out. I mean, the fact that he can turn, not only throw a ton of projectiles, but convert those into kills, that is money, and that is money for a high tier character. Now, why is he in high tier, not in top tier? Well, of course, it's the main reason, where he can't deal with pressure too well, and of course, he can get edge guarded. He has a really vertical high up B, and sometimes you can hold the bomb and make that sort of up B stall, or recovery stall, a little harder to be read. But if you find that one hit or go as deep as he can, he'll be edge guarded, and that's his one main weakness. But overall, frame data too. I mean, down tilt safe on shield, nair basically safe. Up smash out of shield, up B out of shield, which can lead to almost guaranteed up air every single time. There's just so many things this character can do, and I really want you guys to watch and see what, you know, even online, what a player like Colonies can do with Young Link, and Skittles, of course. Just they make the character look like a melee character in terms of speed. It's absolutely incredible. Following Young Link in high tier is going to be Cloud. Cloud. If you want to look at Cloud, just look at Spargo. Just look at Spargo. If you don't know who Spargo is, and you're new to these videos, Spargo is considered to be the best online player in the world at this point. Another prodigy from Mexico, sort of following in a very, very similar footsteps to MKLeo, but now in the Ultimate era. He shows why this character is high tier, but he's also so talented. I mean, I don't want to go into the Spargo in this list. It's about Cloud, but we're talking about just Cloud. He has speed and he has power. All right, he has a limit break, which is incredibly good. Can kill opponents super early. If you get finishing touch, kills at ludicrously low percents. His recovery is his big downfall, but he makes up for that because if you save your limit, you have an up B that can recover from basically anywhere on the stage, anywhere as deep as you are. But just like the last 6 characters we mentioned, the recovery, if you don't have limit, is subpar and it can be easily exploited. But apart from that, I mean, out of shield options, great range, amazing back here, great nair, fair spike, great up air, great dash attack, great down tilt, really strong smash attacks, and in general, just the X factor of limit always being present there is really, really important. Mind you that you have to use limit in that ability. It's a 15-second time span, so he hasn't had changes since the previous list, but it's Cloud. He's a high tier character, and there's no doubt about it. Following Cloud in high tier is going to be Ryu and Ken. Ryu and Ken are similar to Croy and Rom in that they're both very similar with slight differences. Ken, I think, will always edge out slightly better than Ryu. Ryu is a bit better on projectile and distance game, which doesn't fit the character design as well as Ken does with his strengths. But Shoryuken alone is almost a reason alone to make both of them high tier characters. Shoryuken, given how many uses it has with the absolutely stupid kill power and low percent conversions, like, it's no other character in the game has a move like that. And if you miss one, you can do one almost immediately after, because the cooldown on it is basically negligent. There's basically no cooldown on it, you know what I mean? And if you fight against a good Ken player online, you've probably experienced this trauma where they jab you once and then somehow cancel it into 3 more jabs, which cancels into an aerial, which cancels into you somehow be on the ground again, and then you get shoryu'd and you're dead off of a one-hit conversion because they just outplayed you out of their mind. But reminder that this kill would not be possible without, of course, the finisher Shoryuken, and this move is why they are in high tier. But the reason they're not in top tier is because both characters do have trouble dealing with pressure, and their recovery is either laterally with a Tatsu, or you go low and you Shoryu back up with a good read, either a gimped, and you have to make sure you do that, because on the ground, I mean, they're Street Fighter characters. You're not gonna be able to beat them on the street. Let's just be honest. But in the air, off the stage, in the sky, in space, probably a better bet. Smash is a platform fighter, and these characters were not designed for platform fighters. So take advantage of that fact. And I think Sakurai did that on purpose. He made the recoveries weaker, almost as a joke, to show like, yeah, it's a platform fighter. But yeah, still very high tier characters, very, very good. Following Ryu and Ken, we have Wii Fit Trainer. Now, It's important to note that the most latest buff to the game was 11.0.1. I made a video about this. It was a tiny change in which they removed the header buff, which was a shadow buff by accident. Even without that header buff, which made it really good, this character is still high tier. We don't talk about how good Wii Fit Trainer is. I think like people just sort of neglect her as a character, which is weird, but you see her more and more often online, and deep breathing is absolutely wild for a temporary buff. I mean, it's insane how strong the character gets, and it lasts a very long time. A lot of the times you have no choice but to just avoid deep breathing for the entire duration until it runs out. You know, it has speed and conversions, and Wii Fit also has a charging projectile, so even while you run away, she can charge up her neutral B and fire it and salute the sun, and you know that move can kill pretty early too. The only issue is Wii Fit Trainer has some trouble in neutral, trying to find an opening and dealing with off-stage pressure. So the up B has a lot of, like, I guess, torque to it. You can mix up sort of the way that you float, make it hard to see where we're gonna go. Not to mention the fact that the soccer ball or the volley that she throws, you know, that's a really good stalling tactic, and it causes a lot of ledge pressure. You almost have to respect it, because if you get too close and she volleyball spikes you or soccer ball spikes you, that's a super strong spike. You're going straight down. So you have to respect her recovery just a little bit. At the same time, if she gets back to stage, all it takes is one good maybe grab back throw, and if you're at mid% and she has enough time, or he has enough time to do deep breathing, get the buff, and then kill you ridiculously early with a well-timed you know, forward smash, or even a good tilt or a good back air. So deep breathing buff, completely underrated, super high tier character, extremely solid. Look out for this character in the future. Ness is next on our list. All I'm gonna say about Ness, aka Better Lucas, is I literally cannot wait until we are back into in-person competition. I just really want to not be fighting Ness online anymore. And I think that's all I really need to say about that. Also in high tier, we have Sonic. I'm sorry, did I mention that the online meta sucks with Ness? I meant that for Sonic, actually. In fact, both of these characters really benefit from online. I think the Sonic mains and the Ness mains have agreed. They've said it many times. Online, these characters, they just are better. They simply are better. It's that much more difficult to punish them with the delay. It's that much easier for them to get the conversions with the delay. Ness, such crazy projectile games with PK Fire and the up B and his amazing aerials and his amazing chains and his recent buff of a down air and his back throw. Ness is just a character where you have to wait for him to whiff, because if you whiff on Ness, you're taking like 30-40%, and next thing you know, you're caught by a PK Fire, and next thing you know, you're off stage and he's got a yo-yo, and it's really bad. But you know, it's just yeah, no, Ness has so many tools to kill. The only thing I say is just watch Best Ness. He's basically the epitome of showing what Ness can do in the online era. And then with Sonic, watch Sonic's, who's won I don't know how many countless online tournaments at this point, and just see what they do. I know it's the online era, but both these characters still really are high tier, and what Sonic can do with just pure camping and timing out, what he can do with offstage conversions, using the spring for combos, finding a good forward smash, finding a good back air, you know, charge a spin dash into a aerial conversion or a back air finish. He can kill actually a lot earlier than you expect, and he has some sauce if you know how to use him properly. So yeah, a bit of a 2-in-1 for that one. So Ness, high tier, Sonic, high tier. Following up, we have Terry. Terry is like, imagine Ryu and Ken, but just a bit more consistent, right? Terry can get edge guarded a tad easier at lower percents, since he's not, you know, as viable at recovery from down low. Like, he doesn't have a Shoryu. He just has his up B, which is a little bit different. Still high priority on it, but because of that, getting edge guarded more easier. However, he does have an incredibly strong comeback mechanic that can absolutely shift any battle. Buster Wolf and Power Geyser are two of the most powerful moves ever given to a Smash Bros. Character, and it only activates when he's at 100%. So in other words, it's the game almost punishing you for not being able to gimp him early in a percent, and if you let him live too long, you will be the one dead, because Power Geyser, not only is it one of the strongest moves in the game, it comes out a lot more quicker than you can expect, and of course Buster Wolf goes across the entire stage, and it's just yeah, it's wild. It's two of the best comeback moves in the game. No game is ever over versus Terry until the third stock is gone. Just know he is like the comeback character. So even though he doesn't have a Shoryuken, he's got the go meter, and you better go if you see him with it. Next up in high tier, we have Olimar. Surprisingly, we haven't seen too much of him online. I have noticed MFA is one of the Olimar players who has been placing decently in online tournaments. I think the old nerfs to Olimar probably turned a lot of people away from this character. Olimar is light and can die early, but he does absurd damage and has strong kill moves. If you get racked up percent with all that Pikmin thrown on you, you're in for a really hard time. You better hope your character has a move or a way to get rid of those Pikmin before your percent gets way too high. I would say he generally requires more skill than other characters in the high tier, because you have to know how to micromanage. You have to know the order of the Pikmin coming, you have to know when to use them, you have to know blue is for throws, you have to know that the purple is for big hits and projectiles, you have to know that white is for a distance projectile that does a lot of poison damage, and you have to know the properties of each Pikmin to make sure that they are utilized the best. Even still though, finding this character online, it's clear that if you play a very defensive style and you're willing to sort of play against the clock and play defensively and make your opponent come to you, it is still a big struggle. I would still definitely say he's an underrated character still, and I wouldn't let the nerfs deter you. Definitely keep your eye on Olimar. Still a very scary character, still in high tier. Our next character in high tier is Mega Man. Mega Man plays very differently from any other fighters, so we don't see many pocket picks, but dedicated players and dedicated mains will definitely stick to Mega Man. He has a wild camping out and timeout strategy using Rush that players haven't really pushed to the full potential yet, and his kill options can appear pretty telegraphed and easy to avoid, but he does have a lot of frame traps into them, which is important to note. I mean, with using proper leaf shield, using proper pellets, or the lemons as I call them, the gear, the good usage of his forward air and back air, both which can kill. Up smash out of shield is really good. Even though it doesn't have a neutral air per se, he's still able to play so defensively where even if you're near his shield, he can still somehow get out of it scot-free. Not to mention the fact that he has his own little tiny Shoryu with an up tilt, which has a lot of cooldown but still is like a pretty clutch option. His up smash, his up tilt, and his down smash are both all three super devastatingly strong. And he's got a forward smash that you can charge it and has a distance, unlike most other forward smashes, so that's really good. Also has a really good spike. He has an up B that he can spam against floaty characters, which can actually kill off the top in Gimp if you're not careful. Back air, which has a massive knockback, so if you're on a stage like Town and City, you can die super early. Just around the entire board, just a solid character. And you know, if you're gonna fight Mega Man, you have to be ready to be very patient. You have to be ready to find the openings and the little windows that a good or slightly less good Mega Man might give you to get into him. And it basically only happens when he goes for an option, he pulls out a gear, he pulls out some sort of projectile, misses and whiffs, and just then you can find the kill. And hopefully you can find the edge guard, but with him and his really high vertical up B, not to mention the fact that he can air dodge after the up B, it still makes it tough. So this is a damn good character. Yeah, Mega Man is definitely a high tier character, and we've seen results of him online and offline, so for sure. Next up in the high tier is Inkling. Inkling, who went from when the game first came out. When the game first came out, everyone's said Inkling's the best character, which was the 1.0 whatever. But as of now, still definitely a high tier character. He's a classic good character that everyone's known since the start of the game. Because they started out so popular, I think people gained a lot of matchup knowledge against them, myself included. I had a lot of struggle versus Inkling, but now when I fight Inklings, I'm like, oh, this isn't really so hard, and it probably was because of how popular the character was. And so as a result, the Inkling results have actually dropped a lot over the course of the game without too many huge standout stars. You know, a lot of the tip-top players, like the top 10 worldwide players, you don't really see an Inkling really among them. So it's just hard to sort of justify the character being in top tier when a lack of results. I think the fact of the matter is too, but offline didn't and online didn't really change Inkling too much. Like roller confirm combos and how much grounded you get from roller is still one of the most bizarre mechanics in the game. You can camp really well with the character. You can throw splat grenades. You can shoot all the paint you want at them. You can use good up throw up air conversions. One of the best back airs in the game. One of the best kill options in the game. Again, if they're at high percent, you land roller. It's basically a confirmed kill every single time against the entire cast. But recovery, easy to gimp if you know where they're going. And also, if the recovery lands on stage, even though it has a little splat effect, they're still vulnerable right there. So there's definitely things about this character that can be better. Also not the heaviest character by any means. And if they're out of paint, they're looking kind of out of options. So just chase them down and don't get too overwhelmed by what they do. Following up in high tier is Pichu. Pichu did get buffed in patch 11.0. Quite a bit, actually. Pichu side smash attack got decreased the amount of damage taken when using the move. Neutral air attack had the ears invisible during the attack's high damage window, so made it less vulnerable. Pichu's fair, forward throw, side B, and up B all have less damage taken when using the move. So Pichu was the joke character from Melee that would hurt itself when it used moves, and Nintendo decided to bring that back as a classic theme of the character. But with these recent patches, I guess they're kind of realizing like maybe the joke wasn't so funny and maybe it doesn't really make that much sense. But they gave Pichu like the ultimate nerf early on in the game's meta when they nerfed Pichu's forward tilt. That Pichu was considered to be one of the best characters in the game, maybe like the best, top tier, and dropped significantly because of that super important forward tilt nerf. But even now, it's still a high tier character. You know, like Inkling, I think people learned a lot how to play against them. And even though they got nerfed early in Ultimate, they got a slight buff patch in 11, which could help them be a bit more consistent. But all that being said, after seeing this, I think it's likely Pichu will never return to top tier. And it's really hard to justify Pichu players just not playing Pikachu instead, who is a ridiculously good character. The one thing I will say is Pichu is smaller, harder to catch, but also way more lightweight. Dies way earlier. So you got to be able to move very quickly and be very evasive. Next up in high tier is one of the banes of my existence. One of the reasons I almost quit playing Ultimate. No comment. Pac-Man. One of the safest characters you can play in this god-forsaken game. I don't understand why. What's the point in giving Pac-Man an up B with a trampoline when he has a side B? Pac-Man's side B literally is, oh, you see that one pixel on the stage anywhere on your screen? I can reach it with ease. On top of that, he's got the triple trampoline recovery. I say contender for the best recovery in the game, which is probably a hot take. It just blows my mind. He has a huge camping potential to make it a literal obstacle course for the opponent to get to you. He can place down Hydrant, and then you're forced to choose an option. You get pushed back by the water, you jump above it, but then Pac-Man does this incredibly fast narrative shield, or fair-to-fair combos, or back air, or down air. All his aerials are actually really good. Or he puts down the Hydrant, and while you're deciding, charge up his fruit, and either gets a bell or a key. And if he has a bell, congratulations. At 90%, you're dead no matter what if the bell hits. And oh, by the way, if he misses a bell throw, he can pick it up and just do it again and again and again. It's just ridiculous. Now, Pac-Man doesn't have any huge burst options beyond that game plan, so it can be hard to make comebacks from behind. But if you need any proof at all as to how good this character is, just look at T from Japan. The man has won a Japanese major like just the other week, and he did it with style and poise. And my God, does this character have a lot of options? It's just... Why Pac-Man? Why did it make Pac-Man so good? I'm upset at it. I'm upset. But I also play Puff, so that's probably why I'm biased. But yes, ultra, super solid character, definitely high tier. Following Pac-Man in high tier is Greninja. Greninja, imagine if a character kind of had movement like Sheik, but also had disjointed moves that killed, right? That's kind of the Greninja plan. It's a very slippery character, very fast, has a good counter, has really fast aerials, good drag down combos too, and not to mention the fact that he can sort of down air from a distance and then combo off of it. His grab is a bit slower than Sheik's without being too disjointed. So the problem with Greninja is that it can make their game plan a little more one-dimensional, right? Added shield options, like you have Nair and maybe a forward if you land it, but with enough pressure, you can sort of squeeze them in and force certain options. To recover, they can either use, the substitute, which can be, kind of a mind twist if they land it on you, Or, of course, they can use the up B, which is a water spurt, which goes really, really far along the stage or clips to the ledge. So it's a slippery character. If you like speed and you like not being able to see what your opponent, or not being able to reveal all your cards to your opponent, I would say it's a pretty good pick for you. One thing to note is that when I watched MK Leo play Greninja recently online, just his conversions with down tilt into up smash, and using that neutral B, charging it for evasive options, finding really, really creative ways to kill with up air and back air. It's a very, very fast character, and you really need to be on your feet at all times versus Greninja, because that up smash comes out a lot quicker and it's a lot more guaranteed after certain moves than you might expect. So Greninja, high tier. Following Greninja, we have Min Min. Min Min received a slight nerf patch in 11.0. 11.0 Min Min. Basically, Nintendo decided to make her side smash attack, the amount of time you can charge a side smash is now shorter. So it's one of the only smash attacks in the game that you can't charge as long. And I guess they did that because they didn't want to give her so many options or so much time for someone on the ledge and have that flame trap just be there sitting. So now with less time to charge it, it's less options and less times you can actually use it. So as long as you know she has limited time to use it, it gives you a better idea of when you're not going to get hit by it. Not only that, for her side smash, they reduced the launch distance of the dragon's laser when using the dragon arm. So the dragon arm and laser is like the longest range forward smash in the game by far. It's not even close, right? It's like it's the entire stage. It's almost a joke. However, the laser did get significantly weaker, which is a pretty big deal, because if that laser was hitting you, the laser's only hitting you in one spot, and that's in the blast zones, because that's how long the move is. So they did that probably to, you know, it was an important nerf. And of course, they matched the vulnerability with other fighters falling into place, and matched the vulnerability with other fighters when performing an air dodge. So they nerfed her side smash attack, which is a lot of her game plan, and that's a pretty big deal. But all the hype is around Min Min right now, because Min Min has made huge waves in Japan when they started doing more offline tournaments. A lot of people in Japan have considered Min Min to be a top tier character. Until I see her in America, I'm still putting her in high tier, but you know, I would say this character still has trouble dealing with pressure and getting cornered, and of course edge guarded. The edge guard is just one tool only, it's the grapple, but a lot of Min Mins will use the aerial forward air, or forward smash in the air, I guess, to get back. So use offensive and defensive maneuver and then grapple back on. She has a very long grapple, I will say that, with the up B, but one good angle and one good diagonal off the stage and you're pretty much toast. So Min Min, high tier character. Also in high tier, I'm basically gonna say this because I've seen enough of this character to now warrant it, and yeah, I think, and I know that Steve is definitely a high tier character, at least a high tier character. He even had a slight buff in patch 11.0, which I thought was kind of surprising, considering the fact that, you know, he's a new DLC and I didn't think they were gonna do anything, but they increased the attack range slightly of his down smash, which is good to use on the ledge. Not really a move you see too often from him, but they decided to patch it and give it a little buff. His mobility with his speed and jump height is really what holds the character down. If they gave him too much mobility and a higher jump speed, he'd be way too overpowered. It's the balance for him. But on the upside, this character feels like he has what feels like infinite different playstyles that are suited for different situations. Like, there's no limit to how creative you can be with placing blocks, with using that as sort of like a little L-shaped defense cave for you that you can have to, you know, your opponent has to fight through a wall not to even get to you while you sit safely and mine. You know, there's insane cheese potential with this character to steal stocks and especially abuse lack of matchup knowledge. I mean, if you don't know what you're doing versus Steve and you see him pull out a diamond sword, like, what do you think is going to happen in the next 10 seconds? Like, you have to know exactly what the character is doing, how much utility they have. You have to watch their bar. You have to watch the bar next to their stock icon to see how much iron they have, because the iron really drives the character. I mean, with iron, Steve can use minecart, and minecart, I think, contender, or potentially is at this point the single best side B in the entire game. The fact that it catches you and leads to a combo, the kill potential that it has, you can use it in midair as a recovery. It takes one iron. As long as he has iron, the character is like higher and higher. Steve with infinite iron, I mean, top tier minimum. But the fact that he has to mine for it is the one balance change, and you know, he has some matchup problems, but we've seen so many Steves make strides in online tournaments recently. I can think of Jake, of Yanni, of Apple, you know, just a lot of people just been putting in so much work and making this character seem like just a top tier contender. We've only seen him in the online era, but I really want to see how far I can push it. So, Steve players, keep on mining. If you're at a loss and you don't know what to do and you're stuck with a character, just hold B. It'll probably answer itself. He's also the only character that has different tiers depending on what stage he's at, which is kind of crazy. Next character on our high tier list is Ike. Ike has insane kill conversions and huge disjoints. He has, still even after the nerf, one of the best nairs in the entire game, which leads into so many other combos. His recovery is actually really hard to gimp, given the side B can go really far, like incredibly far across anywhere in the stages. The only problem is with Ike, he's able to be edge guarded easier than most high tiers. Even with that said, the peak of his up B can be sort of exploited, and his speed isn't the absolute best. However, the strength alone and the range of this character, and with amazing placements and performances like Raven King, Yez, and others online, have proven that this character, it's really worth his medal. Ike has had such an amazing time to shine in this game, and basically, as long as you play careful enough and know where to place your neutral airs, know where to place your aerials, your tilts in general, you can kill any of the casts pretty early, and the spread wouldn't be too bad in general. So if you need a character that's kind of easy to pick up, pretty much bread and butter, and has more kill power than you know what to do for, definitely go for Ike. Definitely a high tier character. Next in the high tier, we have another very popular DLC. This was Sephiroth. Sephiroth received a slight buff in 11.0. And this buff, of course, was that his down special made it easier to hit multiple times. So basically, his counter got buffed, which is pretty good. He has a really good counter, actually. It can get cracked if the move is too strong. But if it's just not strong enough, you're taking a lot of recoil damage back. What is Sephiroth? So take the sword characters, right? All the ones you mentioned, every Marth in the game. Marth, Jim Marth, Dad Marth, Mom Marth, Magic Marth, Fire Marth. Take all the Marths. Now, make the sword 3 times as long, all right? Oh, and give them a comeback mechanic that gives the smash attack super armor, and give him a second double jump, and you have Sephiroth. Now, this might sound like a complete disaster, a complete top tier of a character. This, on paper, sounds like we're repeating Bayonetta from Smash 4 and ruining the entire meta. Fortunately, people find him to have somewhat lackluster out of shield options. He has a good nair out of shield, and his recovery, I'm not going to say it's bad, but in some cases it's short. He has to charge it up, and I think we have yet to see the full extent of this character. But everything else around him, I mean, it's just overly solid. Like the mid spot back air, the up air range, the up smash range, the down air spike, the forward air syringe, the forward air wall cling, the Giga Flare to intimidate your opponents, the Curse, which lead into so many combos. And now we've seen recently Tweak posting Twitter clips of actually using the up B as a finisher to use a distance, which is almost impossible to avoid. So this character, I think we're just tapping the surface of seeing what it is. Would not be surprised if Sephiroth is top tier in the future at all. Next in high tier, there's a couple left. We have Wario. Wario no longer in top tier. Wario is a high tier. He got nerfed in patch 11.0, and it was a significant nerf. The Wario players all were grieving mutually because his up tilt was decreased the amount of time that the hit detection lasts, and his down special, the waft, decreased attack speed for the 3rd level charge and decreased attack speed for the max charge. In other words, up tilt waft completely nerfed. And how many times in tournaments have you seen a Wario go for up tilt waft? More than you can count. It was his main kill move, his main comeback option, and Nintendo decided to make it that much harder. He teeters on the edge, right, of top tier and high tier, because we saw, remember when Tweak and Zach Ray, and there's so many players who were playing Wario as a pocket because of how solid he was. But the recent nerfs really do take away his main consistency and options to close out stocks. He definitely still has the means to close out the stocks, but he won't be able to land them as often and as reliably, which is important when you only have limited use of waft. Like you only can use it twice, maybe 3 times per game, if it lasts a long time. So with that being said, it's like making Puff's rest worse. It's just like, Jesus, man. Did you really have to knife him like that? Like gut him like that? But I guess he thought that Nintendo thought he was too good, And that was that. So Warrior players, my hat goes off to you, especially Gluttony in Europe, who still I think has potential to, you know, be one of the best players in the world, maybe even win the Smash World Tour. But it makes it that much more challenging. Because I just remember I was playing a Wario online, and I literally won the entire set because the up tilt didn't connect and the waft did not connect. It clanked, I think, with one of my moves because it took just that much longer for it to come out. So huge nerf, very unfortunate. Still a high tier, but no longer a top tier. And our last character in our high tier is going to be Rob. Rob, you know, I'm going to say this. The entire section of Min, Steve, Sephiroth, Wario, and Rob feel very borderline high and top tier. All right, so I really do think of those characters I mentioned, once again, Min, Steve, Sephiroth, Wario, and Rob, they might be considered, I would say, in their own mini tier in between high tier and top tier. They really could fall one way or the other, and it all depends on how the meta plays out, especially post-pandemic. Rob has some of the best advantage states in the game, along with tactics to close out stock at super low percents. I mean, not to mention the gyro ledge trap, the laser you can do from a distance, one of the safest nairs in the game, ultimately strong back air, a ground with his throw, which can lead into an up tilt up air, the beat boot combos. Just his kit is phenomenal. His kit is phenomenal. He's also a pretty heavy character. Recovery is insane, by the way, when you can stall it from a long time. But the huge downside is that he has one of the worst disadvantage states in the game. If you fall behind, though, Rob has enough resilience with projectiles and low percent conversions to steal back victories. And we've seen this very, very often. Not to mention the rotor arms. I call them the spinny arms on the side blast zones. Those kill at like embarrassingly low percent. So they gave him all of that, and then they gave him this X Factor clutch comeback move, which can be used with relative ease. So, like I said, Rob, high tier, borderline top tier, let's be honest. And we've seen so much success with Rob online, namely Waddy, 8-Bit Man, Epic Gabriel, with a number of others. So watch out for Rob, because this character, it's only a matter of time before, I mean, he already has one national thing. I'm pretty sure Zachary's Rob has done a lot of damage in Japan. But you're going to see it. This character is bonkers. So yeah, this concludes part 4 of our tier list of our high tiers. Let me know what you guys thought of the character listing so far. Who was too high, who was too low. And of course, every character I didn't mention will be at least in top tier. So that's going to be on our next video. Thank you guys always for watching. And of course, if you made a high tier, good call. You did well, and you shouldn't complain. I'll see you guys next time.